Top CEOs in prison. Why'd they do it? Before he was convicted of financial fraud in March of 2009, he was the philanthropist and former non-executive chairman of NASDAQ. The fall of Bernard Madoff, a household name in Wall Street, has rocked the world after being sentenced to 150 years to jail. What crime demands such a harsh sentence? White-collar crimes, fraud, embezzlement, insider trading, the list is endless. But Madoff is hardly alone in going from the executive offices to a prison cell. Many CEOs have been found guilty and charged for the same crimes. It got to the point where a bill was passed demanding CEOs go to jail when their companies behave badly. You've got to wonder, what motivates rich, high-powered CEOs to unnecessarily risk it all? The careers, families, reputation, wealth, and power against all logic and ethical principles. Stay tuned as we delve into some of the most notable CEOs of prominent companies convicted of big-time corporate fraud and sentenced to lengthy prison terms. Remember, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to get updated whenever there's a new video on the channel. Number 1. Bernard Madoff, former CEO of NASDAQ. The fall of Bernard Madoff began with the stock market collapse of 2008. Before that, he was a hedge fund investment manager and former chairman of the NASDAQ stock market. He was best known for operating history's largest Ponzi scheme, a financial swindle in which early investors are repaid with money acquired from later investors rather than from actual investment income. Madoff grew up in the predominantly Jewish neighborhood of Laurelton in Queens, New York. He earned a degree in political science from Hofstra University in Hampstead, New York, then studied law briefly at Brooklyn Law School before founding Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities with his wife Ruth, who also worked on Wall Street. Madoff cultivated close friendships with the wealthy and influential businessmen in New York City and Palm Beach, Florida. He signed them as investors, paid them handsome returns, and used their positive recommendations to attract more investors. This scheme kept on for 17 years as he exploited an air of exclusivity to attract serious, moneyed investors. Not everyone was accepted into his funds, and it became a mark of prestige to be admitted as a Madoff investor. As more investors joined, their money was used to fund payouts to existing investors, as well as fee payments to Madoff's firm and allegedly to his friends and family. No one knew that the supposed trades were not taking place, and Madoff's employees were instructed to generate false trading records and bogus monthly investor statements. When Madoff's operations collapsed in December of 2008 amid the global economic crisis, he admitted to the extent of the scam to members of his family, and the following day, they turned him over to the authorities. In March of 2009, Madoff pled guilty to 11 federal felonies and admitted to turning his wealth management business into a massive Ponzi scheme. Estimates of losses range between $50 billion and $65 billion. In all, investors lost more than just their finances. Several lost their lives. For his crimes, Madoff was given a maximum sentence of 150 years in prison. Number 2. Sanjay Kumar, the former chairman and CEO of Computer Associates International. As a teenager, Sanjay immigrated to the US with his family. He enrolled at a university in South Carolina, but ended up leaving without a degree. In 1987, Sanjay joined Computer Associates and has since worked his way to the top of the company at a rapid pace. Sanjay Kumar became the chairman and CEO of software tech company Computer Associates in 2002. For a brief spell, he lived a charmed life, even buying the New York Islanders hockey team alongside his mentor and company partner Charles Wang. But by 2004, Kumar was investigated for orchestrating a $2.2 billion accounting fraud at the software company, which led to his resignation. He pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice and security fraud charges in 2006 and was sentenced to 12 years in jail with a fine of $8 million for his role in a massive accounting fraud at Computer Associates. He has since been released from federal prison in Miami after serving nearly 10 years for his crimes. Number 3, Jeffrey Skilling, former CEO of Enron. The story of Jeffrey Skilling best describes the fall of a Wall Street darling. The then CEO of Enron Corp reached dramatic heights only to face a dizzying fall. Skilling, along with Chairman Kenneth Lay, were instrumental in the Enron mega scandal. In 2000, Enron was the largest seller of natural gas in North America, the 5th largest corporation in the United States, and the nation's most innovative large company, according to Fortune magazine. With such accolades, it was shocking to say the least when Enron's stock price fell from over $90 per share to just pennies by the end of November of 2001. Barely a month after this, the company filed for bankruptcy on December 2, 2001. In the wake of Enron's downfall, federal investigators discovered evidence of corporate arrogance, greed, and fraud of an unprecedented level. In 2006, the 2 highest-ranking Enron executives involved in the scandal, Ken Lay and Jeff Skilling, were convicted of conspiracy, fraud, and making false statements to auditors and insider trading. Skilling ultimately received the harshest sentence of anyone involved in the scandal. He was required to give $42 million to the victim of the Enron fraud and to cease challenging his conviction. Skilling was finally convicted by a Houston jury in 2006 and sentenced to 24 years in prison. He ended up serving 12 years in jail and was eventually released in 2019. Number 4, Bernie Ebbers, the former CEO of WorldCom. Before he was convicted of financial fraud and conspiracy in 2005, Bernie Ebbers was known as the telecom cowboy. He lived on a ranch, wore boots and blue jeans to work, and regularly taught at Sunday school. Ebbers was one of the most colorful and successful executives to emerge out of the telecommunications revolution. Ebbers spent nearly 2 decades transforming a small Mississippi company, once known as Long Distance Discount Service, into WorldCom through a slew of acquisitions, including the $37 billion takeover of the much larger MCI Communications in 1998. This move made Ebbers' company a rival for AT&T, Verizon, and other long-distance carriers, and also made him a billionaire, a blessing and a curse it would seem. The fall of Bernie Ebbers began in 2002, where a former employee reported that Ebbers had urged them to infiltrate WorldCom's financial results and ordered them to make the company more profitable and please Wall Street analysts. In time, WorldCom's stock subsequently plummeted, and in a desperate amount to cover up losses, Ebbers and his executive team continued to rearrange the books, which led to an $11 billion accounting fraud. The repercussions of this caused the portfolios of many employees and shareholders to be wiped out, and billions of dollars were drained from retirement accounts. The country's largest public pension fund, the California Public Employees Retirement System, lost $565 million on WorldCom bonds and stocks. In 2002, the fraud was discovered by internal auditors, and Ebbers denied that he was at fault, saying that it was subordinates who had concealed WorldCom's skyrocketing costs. He was later convicted by a Manhattan jury in March of 2005 for orchestrating the fraud and was found guilty of securities fraud, conspiracy, and 7 counts of filing false reports with regulators. Bernie Ebbers served 13 years of incarceration from his 25-year sentences before early release due to deterioration in health. Number 5, John Riggis, former CEO of Adelphia Communications. John J. Riggis turned a $300 investment in a local cable television system into the nation's 6th largest cable company. He built a highly successful family-run business, Adelphia Communications Corporation, with 5.5 million customers in more than 30 states, and became a billionaire over 5 decades. At the height of his success in the late 90s, the family bought the Buffalo Sabres of the National Hockey League. But things were not as they seemed, as a few years down the line, Mr. Riggis was convicted of looting the business of billions of dollars, wiping out shareholders. The case began in 2002, when prosecutors asserted that the Riggises had concealed nearly $2.3 billion in company debt from stockholders, while portraying the company as having sound finances, even though it was dangerously overextended. In 2004, Adelphia, along with the Rigas family fortune, came crashing down when it was discovered that Mr. Rigas and his son Timothy, Adelphia's chief financial officer, were convicted of securities fraud and bank fraud for falsifying Adelphia's earnings and diverting more than $3 billion in company funds for their own use. According to the court papers, Adelphia said in the statement, quote, "The Rigases, not Adelphia, had the use and enjoyment of $3.2 billion of Adelphia funds and credit, and the Rigases, not Adelphia, used Adelphia's credit and its bank accounts to purchase assets and operate their own private ventures. In short, the Rigases have been enriched while Adelphia suffered." John Rigas was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison and Timothy to 20 years. Eventually, both sentences were reduced by 3 years. Mr. Rigas was 82 years old when he entered prison in 2007, diagnosed with bladder cancer and heart ailment. In 2016, at 91, he was granted compassionate release after serving 9 years. Number 6. Dennis Kozlowski, former CEO of Tyco. Dennis Kozlowski came from modest circumstances. He began his career at Tyco International in 1975 as an auditor and worked his way up the corporate ladder to become CEO in 1992. Kozlowski gained notoriety as CEO for the rapid growth and success of the company, as well as his extravagant lifestyle. As CEO, Kozlowski was lauded for his risk-taking and the immense growth of the company. He launched a series of strategic mergers and acquisition, rapidly building up the size of Tyco. During his first 6 years as CEO, he secured 88 deals worth over $15 billion. An outstanding growth, bolstered by a booming economy, caused Tyco's stock price to soar. However, when the economy slowed, the company began to struggle. In 2002, CEO Dennis Kozlowski and his chief financial officer Mark H. Schwartz were accused of illegally siphoning off roughly $600 million from Tyco. Kozlowski alleged that Tyco paid for his $30 million New York apartment, as well as his expensive artworks and lavish corporate parties, including a $2 million Roman-themed birthday party for his wife. He left the company in 2002 amid controversy surrounding his compensation and personal spending. In 2005, Kozlowski was convicted of crimes in relation to alleged unauthorized bonuses of $81 million, in addition to other large purchases and investments. In all, Kozlowski was criminally charged for looting more than $600 million of assets from Tyco and its shareholders. As punishment for their actions, he and former Tyco CFO Mark Schwartz were ordered to pay $134 million back to Tyco, along with a $70 million fine to be paid by Kozlowski. Kozlowski was sentenced to 8 years in jail, but ended up only serving 6 years. We've come to the end of the video. If you stayed till this point, then you found this content interesting. Tell us what you think in the comment section down below, and support us by hitting the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you're notified next time we upload valuable content like this. Thank you for your time, and until next time, stay inspired.